Good morning, you guys. This is Tasemere, your host of the Blackout Live from New York. Today we have our reoccurring commentator, Kenyetta S visiting us a little bit later, but we also have a very special guest. I can't wait for you guys to hear what he has to say on the topic of today. His name is LaQuan Word. So just to reset for people who aren't familiar with this segment, the Blackout Live from New York with your host, Tasemere, me. The purpose of this segment is to celebrate Black folks across the diaspora and to have an open dialogue about Black economics, how we reimagine trends in business, and explore the magic that we have. As I mentioned earlier, today we will be joined by our reoccurring commentator, Kenyetta S. of 6 Gen Venture Studio, and special guest LaQuan Word, and we will be discussing the metaverse and what the heck is in it for Black folks. So let me get LaQuan up here real quick. LaQuan Word has an extensive background in urbanism. That's right, you guys. The union. What is going on with the union? He started out as a clerk in the membership department of International Brotherhood of Team Masters, Local 237. At age 20, he was elected as chief shop steward for Office and Professional Employees International Union Local 153, representing Team Master Local 237 office and security personnel employed by the union and served from 2004 to 2008. So basically, LaQuan got all the scoop on the union and what the heck is unionism, and we will get into that. LaQuan transitioned to Labor's Local 79 as a mason tender construction apprentice until 2010, and later ran for the 18th Thank you guys for being patient. I don't know what the heck is happening with my internet. I'm starting to think maybe the people are watching me and they don't want us to talk about what we're going to talk about, but we're going to do it anyway. So like I was saying, our special guest, LaQuan, has an extensive background in unionism. And so to pick up where I left off sharing that he was running for the senator seat in the District of Brooklyn, and that he has served as the Democratic County Committee member in Brooklyn for 1 2-year terms. Currently, LaQuan is the second vice president of the Law Enforcement Employees Benevolent Association, representing 800 NYC employees working for the Department of Transportation, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the Department of Sanitation. Additionally, LaQuan is a licensed real estate professional and notary, and has consulted for minority small businesses. He also is currently employed by the City Transit Authority for 10 years as a power distribution maintainer. So we got a lot to talk about. LaQuan, let me bring you up here so we can get into it. Good morning, LaQuan. How are you?
Good morning, Tasemere. I'm well. I want to thank you for having me on your show this morning. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. So before we get into our topic of today about unionism, I know I had a mispronunciation earlier when I said urbanism, because to me, the union and urbanism, okay, what the heck is going on here? But let us just talk about what is unionism and how did you even get into it?
Okay, so I was 19 going on 20. I was at a crossroads in my life. I had made some very wrong choices prior to starting with the union. I was involved with street gangs prior to that. I was running the streets. I came from a very middle class family, but yet I got caught up. Prior to me getting that job with the union, I was working in Kearney, New Jersey at a warehouse from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. loading trailers. It was exhausting. It was tiring. It was demeaning. And I do believe I was very fortunate because by way of my godmother, a woman who she used to watch her children, babysit for her, they had a job opening at the Union Hall on 14th Street. The Union Hall is located in Manhattan on 14th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue. I went to the interview. I bombed the interview completely. But it's not about what you know. It's about who you know, because I got a call about a day later in the afternoon stating I'm to start work the following week. So once again, for you people who don't know, your network is your net worth in all actuality, because I really didn't do well in that interview, but because of by way of who you know and who knows you, I was able to get that job. So pretty much, I think I was 19 at the time when I started. And I was a clerk. I started out as a clerk in the membership department. What I did was interact with the membership. Teamsters Local 237 is one of the largest city employees unions in the country, as well as the city of New York. They had about 20,000 members at that time. They represent members from New York City Housing Authority, about 8,000 plus of those members, Health and Hospital Corporation, Department of Homeless Services, and other variety of city agencies in the city of New York. And I would interact with those members on a daily basis, processing union dues payment. And every month I did engagement with the members by sending them mailings and things of that nature. So that's how I got involved with unionism at an early age. What I did recognize, though, is that my title as a clerk, at the time we were represented by a separate union, which is right down the block on 14th Street and 8th Avenue, by the name of OPEIU Local 153. That's Office and Professional Employees International Union, Local 153. They represent about 153,000 members, right? That's huge. That's a big thing. I believe that I was always a very independent spirit. My immediate supervisor at the time was seeking to vacate the seat of Chief Shop Steward, as well as at the time our business agent from the union was getting ready to retire, I believe, on disability. And we had no one to represent us in our collective bargaining negotiations. So I was very, very new and green to unionism in the industry, but I did have some things within me as far as resilience, determination, independence, and a spirit to fight and stand up not only for myself but our people, that enabled me to very shortly be recognized as an individual who was no nonsense, who was not scared of management, and I would take on the status quo. So after my supervisor vacated the position, I ran for the vacant seat. We did a whole official election amongst the group of people that I represented. I think at that time we represented like 33. I represented like 33 staff. So that's the individuals who work in the health and welfare benefits office, receptionists, and some employees in which they designated as professional staff at the time. So including a security staff. So for a short period of time, I don't know, it's not in my bio. I'm sorry, I left that out. Also, for a short period of time, I attended Cornell School of Industrial and Labor Relations on East 34th Street in Manhattan, studying labor. So I do have some formal education in the labor industry as well, coupled with my experience as a chief shop steward, as well as heading the collective bargaining committee and negotiating contracts for those employees who were employed by the union at the time. So that's how I got into it.
LaQuan, you are like the expert on you. When I got a union question, I'm gonna come to you. If anybody got a union question, you go to LaQuan because he got the knowledge and the information and the know-how to tell you what to do. We have now Kenyetta. I'm going to bring her up so we can get into this very engaging conversation about the metaverse and what it means for Black folks, because I can't wait. So we have our reoccurring commutator, Kenyetta S. Rose. Super excited to have you here.
Good morning, Kenyetta.
I know I was bugging you earlier this morning. No, girl, get to the bag. Never be afraid of that. I'm never going to stop you from getting to the bag. We need all the Black people to get all the coins so we can go and buy back some prisons. LaQuan, I did use that the other day. I was like, I spoke to a very intellectual guy that's going to be on my show later on this week, and he hit me with this concept of buying back the prisons. We got so much to talk about. I don't want to go all over the place because I don't want to confuse the viewers here. But Kenyetta is our reoccurring commutator. She comes on about once a month. Today, she's gracing us with her presence twice a month because she was on just last week. But Kenyetta S. Rose is the founder of 6 Gem Venture Studios out in Colorado. So she's up super, super early to be here with us today. Kenyetta, you want to share a little bit about your background, and then we will go into the topic of today?
My background is everything. You name it, I've done it. Only thing I haven't done is sell organs. Well, so I started out in accounting. I started out in like financial accounting, forensic accounting. I did a little bit of tax accounting throughout the years. And I've always been entrepreneurial. My first job out of college was working for a family business. Actually, my uncle, who was very entrepreneurial, he was always doing ventures. So, I mean, I've worked for family businesses. I have worked in corporate. I've ran my own businesses that have not really scaled. So now this next one is about scaling, not really just being a business, but about scaling to a company. So what led me to 6 Gem Venture Studios is really just my passion for entrepreneurship, number one, and two, I internalize for me, people who complain about, like Black people, we complain about racism. For me, I see it in business, and I don't like to deal with people. I don't want to give my money to people I don't like. So it's growing up in communities that look like us but aren't owned by us. And I'm just like, it's not just about starting companies. We got to build. It's not just about starting businesses. We got to build companies that we can pass on to our kids, and we can hire people from within the community. So yeah, the goal is to start partnering with Black businesses that have the goal of scaling to multi-million-dollar entities.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So you guys know who I'm hanging out with. You know, you got to change your surroundings so
Hey,
you could
Eli.
change the conversations
Indeed,
on the
indeed.
table. Eli's definitely here. You guys know he fell asleep. He was giving me such a hard time, and when I told him we got
Oh,
StreamYard, he fell asleep. He's supposed to be giving us his take on this multiverse that he's been hearing about. So definitely wanted to open up the conversation around the multiverse. Viewers, definitely put your comments there so we can address your questions, maybe even bring you up if you also want to join the conversation with us. But let's just get into it. Facebook is now coming out with this metaverse, right? And so what is going to happen with this metaverse? I'm calling it the multiverse because I'm thinking about Flash and going back in time and then having to trap myself someplace. But what are your thoughts? Kenyetta, we'll start with you and then we'll go to LaQuan and take it from there. What are your thoughts about the metaverse?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I've just began doing my research. So whatever I have to say, it won't be scholarly. It will be purely subjective and purely just me being very transparent about, one, I'm wrapping my head around what it is. I don't fully understand it. Two, I suspect we've always been living in it. And the reason why I said that is as I was reading some articles, I was thinking to myself, when we think about society, right? You know, people talk about civilization and society in modern times. But if you think about it, we've always been living in it. The difference is evolves, right? And so that's one way that I've been trying to break it down to myself. I will say this, and Kwan's going to have a more scholarly, smart way to talk about it. But for me, what I will say that I would like to add to the conversation is the metaverse for us, for Black people, because when I in the world, that's my world, is what is it for Black people and how do we get paid and benefit from it. The metaverse for us that we should intend for it to be is the world that creating a world how it should be for us. And what I mean by that is the past couple years of history that I'm aware of for Black people have been very oppressive, not ideal, right? We've been, for lack of a better word, the non-dominant people in society. And what my hope is that we come into the metaverse, or we create a metaverse, or I don't know if it's the metaverse is just one big living organism, or if it's just like it's going to be uh, multiverse. We have more, you know, Facebook has their world, other entities have their world, and maybe we have our world. So I'm hoping that the metaverse is something that's more so multiverse, where we're not just coming to join their world, we're creating our world. And if it does become a multiverse, I hope it's a world. I intend for it to be a world where we create a society where we are the dominant society, where we're not constantly talking about and using rhetoric like, I don't like to use this word often, but white supremacy, right? Where we can talk about Black supremacy and start to imagine what that might look like for us. So that's my, I don't want to say hope, but that's my vision for what I see the metaverse being, and what I really would like to insert into the conversation. You know, it won't, like I said, it won't be, and I'm not speaking against myself, it won't be that intelligent. It will be when the intelligent people are done. Okay, now that you're done throwing your smart terms around, can we talk about how we gonna create it in our own vision? Can we have that conversation
What
when you're
I'm
done?
calling is Wakanda.
I don't know if it's that. I don't want to call it that because I don't want to get sued, right? We don't want to get sued. I'm sure there's other nice words out there. But yeah, that's my vision for it. That is not a metaverse, but more so a multiverse. And Black people, we come and create a world where and I think what it will do is to help us increase our racial self-esteem, right? It'll help build our self-esteem up, what it means to be Black, because it can, it can feel very. I'm gonna leave it at that. Quan, I'm passing the baton to you.
I'll start with the I guess a most official term or definition of what the metaverse is. It's said that the metaverse is a three-dimensional reality that can be shaped and molded in a variety of ways by way of engineering. The metaverse is not new, first and foremost. So for individuals who are science fiction fans, a book actually called Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, written in 1992, coined the term the metaverse, as well as venture capitalist Matthew Ball utilized the term very often. Now, whether or not we were paying attention, right? That's one of the things that we have to be cognizant about is, are we paying attention? Because prior to this point in time, those terms or that term was being bandied about in various circles. Now, whether or not our people were a part of those circles to hear that what the term being thrown around was, that's up for discussion. I think the metaverse, in fact, is going to be or mean as little or as much to our people as we make it, because it's the same thing in the commercial real estate industry. Our participation is less than 0.00001% as professionals or investors in the commercial real estate industry, the same as in the cannabis industry, right? Because people ask those questions, what does this look like for us, right? So whether it be the metaverse, cryptocurrency, the cannabis industry, that determination of what it looks like and how it reflects upon us is up to us, in fact. Now, the metaverse, as we know it, can mean a myriad of things. First and foremost, commerce, trade and commerce. Within the confines of the metaverse, and I'll give you an example, such as Decentraland, Roblox, Sandbox. These things that maybe our parents and their parents, our parents' parents, and us even considered games, and would tell our kids, get off that game, is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we're calling it a game because we don't have an understanding, or either we haven't taken the time out to understand what we consider a game or games is an industry in which somebody makes money. And one of the individuals I can think of that is a part of our community who's involved with that universe or gaming or that world is former NBA Lakers player Rick Fox. He is one of the executives and partners in his own gaming team. So we do have a very small handful of us that are involved within the realm of the meta universe, but in fact, it's very small footprint, or we have very small market share participation. So there's going to be trade, commerce, the selling and buying of virtual land, which in all actuality is akin or very similar or familiar to what took place in the United States, right? Because there's individuals who have an advantage or are privy to information, right, that we don't have, and they're taking advantage of these auctions, and they have resources being virtual capital. Like if you're involved in Decentraland, and you have to use Decentraland currency, right? You have to use mana. You have to use mana to purchase land. And you have to go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, so I want to, as Tasemere would say, place a pin right there. I like that. I'm going to put that in my little treasure trove of words. Let's pin that, because taking a look at this New York Times article, and it said that this guy sold his company for $1.7 million, right? So he has this, I think it was like a kind of like the Decentraland, right? And he sold it for $1.7 million. Now, $1.7 million, you and I, all three of us, can make that by next year. So I'm thinking to myself, if it's really all what it's hyped up to be, then how come this company only sold for $1.7 million?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the hype that's building metaverse, right? Like, what I'm saying is I believe it's all of the fervor and all of the conversations and the ads that's really what's building this thing up, right? Like, it's nothing. It's them creating it, them putting engineering and tech behind it, but it's all of this talk around it, which makes me think we could do our own thing. Why do we always have to join their bandwagon? Yes, there's going to be money, there's going to be commerce, all of those things, Quan, but they're all creating that stuff.
I want to go to something. I want to go to something because both of you guys, while you guys were talking, I was thinking about those virtual reality games. What, Sims? Remember when Sims was really big?
I remember that. I never played it, but
we used to build our own, like, had a whole nother personality in Sims, and you could be married and have a dog or
that's Roblox,
something like that, right? So we have been conditioned, but we didn't know the terminology around that, right? So, like, for me, that's what I thought about. But then when you guys are talking about real estate, I thought about playing Monopoly, and I thought about playing that life game, and I thought about, having the strategy. And I think that that's one of the challenges, and I often say this to Kenyetta, that I feel like we don't think and do things that exercise us having strategy. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we have a challenge of building our own stuff, right? Because we're like relying on someone else to build the infrastructure, and then we just want to go make it cool. And I think people know that enough that they're like, let me just build it and give them some keywords and make it sound sexy, and the Black folks gonna go make it cool, and I'm gonna make some money. Now, what do you guys think about that?
Woo, I think the way that you broke that down, man, they come with the ideas, the strategy. We come to make it cool. They bait, they cash out. I couldn't have said it better myself. Quan, what? Yeah.
First and foremost, we got to remember there's a room and a table in which those discussions are had before this thing comes to fruition. Where's our room and where's our table and chairs to even begin having the discussions? And
our room and table and chairs don't exist because we've given the wood to help build somebody else's table and chairs. So we don't got no table and chairs. And I don't think that we can't build our own table and our own chairs, but I think that we're so busy trying to get into other rooms and getting all these credentials to get into everybody else's room to build their businesses and maybe have one seat at the table, that we don't see value in building our own until we're kicked off the table.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but even if you look at how Black businesses across the country view success, so individuals who create products, right? One of the biggest things, let's just say, for example, someone who creates birthday cards. One of the biggest things you can do or have success in is have your product placed in Walmart. But in fact, we don't think in terms of, why don't we have a Black Walmart, right? Where's the Walmart for us? Each and every turn, the biggest thing for us is kind of flying under the wings of a larger, predominantly white institution and having partnerships with them, because that's what's been promoted. When you go pitch, you go in front of major corporations and people who have money that really most often don't look like us in that instance. And it is your dream to be able to have a partnership or to receive some sort of financing funding from them. And because of the mindset of that, we never established that exactly what is being done is detrimental, and yet in all actuality, it is counter to the idea of accomplishing of what people believe or think is equality. Equality does not stem from your counterparts giving you a hand up. Equality stems from myself, Tasemere, and Kenyetta, and others that look like us, putting in or pooling together resources and creating things of our own so that we can compete with our counterparts in an environment where there's an entire world to sell our products or give our services to. But it's a transition of the mind. It's the thought process that is really escaping or eluding us that will allow for us to do that. Because one of those rooms is right here on Tasemere's show. This is a room right here where the thought process is being meted out and discussed. But when you go into the corporate world, we don't find those quite often. Other people have control of those arenas. But this is our arena, right? The internet has given us vast amounts of capacity to touch our people all over the world. This is not just limited. This platform is not just limited to national engagement. We could have people that look like us from all over the world in this room right here and have a conversation and then direct and instruct our people to say, hey, listen, we're raising money. This is where you send your check to, or this is where you perform that transaction. But listen, we could change a lot of things literally overnight with crowdfunding and other things that we have available at our fingertips. This whole issue of money and poverty can be changed by us in an instant. Just get your debit card out.
What did you say yesterday? We want to get it printed on some sweatshirts?
Yes. Yes.
You remember what you said? We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to buy in.
We gotta buy in.
We're gonna have to buy in.
The days of marching and boycott. Well, boycotting still has its place. Let me not go that far. But the days of accusing others of not being fair and playing the black card and playing the sympathy role, it's not going to work anymore. The world is tired of it. They're over it. They've seen all of our plays. We're going to have to buy our way in.
Well, I think that we talked about investment for a bit, and I think that we need to flush that out a bit more, because we don't want to invest in each other. I can say something. I'll give you a perfect example. I have the DM firm. Do you know how many times I have been told you should just have a white person be the face of your company? You go and do all the work and just hire a white person to be the face of your company, and then you'll make a lot of money, right?
Wow.
So I've had that said to me plenty of times, right? Not just by, and I'm not going to drop names, but I've had that said to me plenty of times, and it was by people that look like me, right? It was like, oh no, you should just do the work. Do you know how many times I have had people that want me to do the work but put their name on it, so they'll subcontract me out and they want to white label something, and I've had to turn it down. And so I think that that's the value. I think we have to start having people see value in what we do in order to get that investment.
But I want to, okay, let's flush that out now. Fork in the road. You said that it was mostly said by our own, right? And Quan talked about mindset. And I want to rewind to when I said increasing our racial self-esteem, because that's really what it is. I can't tell you how many times I've talked myself out of wonderful opportunities simply because I didn't feel worthy. So my biggest goal in life has been, I've got to increase my self-esteem, because nothing, work ethic, commitment can all be there. If the confidence and the self-esteem isn't there, it means absolutely nothing. We've got to increase our racial self-esteem. Bringing it back now to the metaverse. That could be a place where we create our own space, our own world, where we get to build ourselves up, because the world is constantly trying to break us down. Constantly. It's in the commercials, it's in the ads. When you go shopping, people are following you. It's just there's always these microaggressions where people just kind of just do these microaggressions that people are always constantly acting out against us. And I think that it does something to you as a human being. And it's okay.
But I would want to say that it's not just microaggressions. I think when we say microaggressions, going back to your point, I think a lot of things are always directed towards other people. I think that we as a community have a tendency to look at what other people are doing, and we get a little jealous, right? But we don't critically think about we don't critically think as a group around how can we do that, right? Like, so we are always like, oh well, they won't let us in, and this person over here has this and this group over here has that. But I think it's coming to a fork in the road, because we can't blame education anymore, because we are the most educated group of people, Black women, right? We got PhDs, whatever come after the PhDs. Maybe people got 2 or 3 of those. Most people have extensive experience in a particular
Black women have sacrificed
industry.
Family in the name of education.
Exactly. So we can't really blame the education part, right? So then the next part, I think, is to Quinn's point, is when are these people going to start putting their money where their mouths are and writing checks? Because I thought his idea of, like, if we had a couple people, like, imagine if Jay-Z, Beyonce, and all these other celebrities that are investing in other places decided to buy, but imagine, it's not their responsibility, but they do invest a lot, right? We're talking about the prison system, for instance. But if we're talking about the prison system, for example, we're saying it's unfair. We don't like how the prisons are ran. I'm running with Quan's idea, right? How much would it take for us to buy a prison? If we bought a prison and we own the prison, then we can make changes, right? But I think that we tend to invest in other things and think that the society is going to take care of us on human rights and on equality and on civil rights. And I think that that's us hustling backwards, because we were never put in the blueprint to be considered for any of these things. So all the institutions that we want to take part in, why would they think about Black people if policing was designed to keep Black folks enslaved? Why would they say, okay, let's think about Black people? They have no,
I think the first thing is we should have consideration for ourselves before anybody has consideration for us. The conversation that you and I had about, for decades, we marched, we cried, and we complained about the prison industrial complex. And then it's funny because we elected the individual who's in office who was like one of the prime architects of it, which behooves. I don't understand how that works.
Say his name, Quan. Just say the man's name.
I guess we forgave President Biden for his active role and participation in those laws or legislation that actually prompted and promulgated mass incarceration of our Black men and women and children over the past 40, 50 plus years, right? So never at one time, private prisons became, over the past 40 plus years or so, became very prominent, right? 2 companies come to mind that were very large companies that ran these private prisons. One thing I can think of, 2 words: hostile takeover, right? Hostile takeover. It's what they do in the corporate world when you want to take control or purchase a company. We never thought about we don't think about control, power, right? Or taking over. That's the problem. We never were introduced to the idea of having the first and the last say over anything, whether it be our lives, whether it be the businesses we own in our community. Most of our parents, right, when you were a kid, right, you start getting upset and you get mad, you go and close your door in your bedroom. If you had a bedroom, your mother would tell you, don't close no doors in my house. You can't open or close doors in somebody's house. We got to build our own house. You can't close no doors in those people's house. You're going to do what you told, because that's what our mama told us. Don't close no doors in my house, or I'm taking it off the hinges, right? Go sit down in that corner and do what you told. And that's exactly what's going on in America. You get told what to do, and you do it, or else you face repercussions. So for us, what we need is organization. We believe we are organized, but that's all perspective, right? Because I'm in the union industry, and I see, and based upon the history that I know in the union industry, that is organization, where people or an entity or persons go out into the world and organize tens of thousands of individuals who are workers. That's organization. We don't have that kind of organization. We don't have that kind of structure or
LaQuan, you have the experience. You got to
yes. And listen, Kenyetta knows best, right? I struggle with my feelings when I interact and engage with my people, because we believe that education has given us this intellectual uplifting, but yet when I engage with my people and attempt to start organizing efforts in a lot of instances, that intellect is not really there. So we have to rethink about what we think education is.
When you get to the point when you're ready to organize us, what is it that you need from us? I know it's probably going to be women, because you're always saying that you believe that Black women are sort of the messiah.
I think we might have to embarrass, and I'm creating a platform. So not to say that I don't want to deal with the brothers. I'm not saying that, because a platform that I am in the works on will incorporate brothers to a huge extent solely so we can do what we need to do for our family, our women, and our children. But I think women, based upon how or what may be the wave, as the young kids say, the wave, as I see prominence being stowed upon by society as a whole on our Black women, I say, listen, if Black women are being put at the forefront by all these different parties and powers, why not support that? So you see in the space of venture capital, where Black women receive less than 0.001% of the dollars for their companies, why don't we as Black men say, listen, in order to lift our women up, we're going to raise funds to invest in them from our own fund, right? If we really want to support Black women, men should then organize a fund and say, hey, listen, we're going to buy in to our women, because the greater white society has said, listen, we're going to give women the education, we're going to give women specific tools, we're going to give them housing. So let's play the game. Let's be strategic on this. Our women have been propped up by the system, but let's get our dollars behind our women, because that's one of the things they won't really give our women is the money. So if we get behind the women while you guys are at the forefront doing things, we will now have an equity stake as Black men, and we will be equal. We will be on equal footing once we get behind you, because we will make a considerable contribution to your businesses and other ventures that you take on outside of the household. But Black women are doing many things in which we need to support, because if we invest in you, it comes back full circle at the end of the day, because we have an equity stake. So whatever you do, whenever you succeed, when we have equity, we succeed. What Dawn Dixon said, that accelerator who bought 8% of her company for $35,000, to this day, whatever she does and when she cashes out or exits or sells the company, they still going to benefit significantly. Yesterday, Bob Johnson, John Malone invested $500,000 in Bob Johnson, who founded BET's company many years ago. 138,000 of that was to buy 20% equity, right? The remaining 300 some odd thousand was a loan. Years later, when it was purchased, the company was purchased, Mr. Malone, John Malone, who's in the media industry, cashed out for $800 million. That's what equity does. That's what buying in does. That's what the investment does. $138,000 and 20% worth of equity gets you $800 million a number of years later. We got to start changing the dynamic of how we think about buying in and investing in ourselves, because we don't really believe that we can do it, but other people are doing it. So why can't we do it? We just have to believe. And we need to start by organizing people that think like us. We don't have a lot of time to go try to grab people that I got to convince over the next 7 years that we can do this. It takes too long. It's going to be a small handful of us to actually do this. And I know a lot of people don't like that. I know a lot of people make that correlation to the talented 10th, but there's always more people talented than others. Some people are more talented than me. I'm not the best guy at sports. There's somebody more talented than me. There's somebody's beard that's better than mine. There's always somebody better. But why don't we take the opportunity to invest in those who are better and who have better ideas? That's what I'm looking at, because Facebook was a great idea. Bitcoin was a great idea, but I didn't invest in Bitcoin when I had the opportunity. It didn't have to be my idea. So a lot of us thinks that it has to be our idea. It doesn't. If you got a great idea and I can get some equity and I can cash out 10 years later at 30 million for a $50,000 investment, I'm with it. It's not rocket science.
Hey, Rico. I mean,
I want to go back to this hostile takeover, because I saw Eli get up. I think you might have like some foot soldiers in Eli, because I saw him get up when we started talking about the hostile takeover. He was like, wait, we talking my language here. What can I do? I could throw a bottle. I could throw up on somebody. What we need to do? I'm down for the takeover piece, but I also wanted to provide some historical context around what you were saying, because when we think about the women's suffragette movement, that it was built on the backs of adding Black men into that movement. And people forget that. They think that the women's suffragette movement was about all women. It was about white women, to be very honest. And they said, oh, we can add in Black men too, because they also need the right to vote. Black women didn't get the right to vote until the Voting Rights Act in the 50s, 60s. So we need to really start breaking down and understanding the trends of what's happening. And I think that Black men supporting Black women would be super dope. Just saying. Putting the money together and saying like we're gonna invest $50,000, $100,000. I think that would be amazing.
And I want to just I'll take a moment to do some acknowledgement. Kwana's not just talking. I ran for office in 2018 and he put money to back me and I won. Office, putting money in flyers, putting money in me giving out hot dogs and chicken wings to the block.
Yeah.
And when he got behind me, it gave me rocket fuel. So he's not just talking, like he actually has done it. He himself has seen the result of getting behind black women. So he's not talking from a space of I think or I have an opinion, which, you know, we do a lot of conjecturing. I get it, but like he's actually done it and he's got some results in it. So I just wanted to inject.
I mean, you can't go wrong with a Black woman. We got that Black girl magic happening. You know, we gonna put in that work.
Magic.
You can't go wrong with supporting Black women. But I think that also changes the narrative. I think it changes the narrative and the dynamics around how Black men protect and support Black women. I think it does a lot to counter the propaganda that has been put out there, where it's kind of like Black men don't like Black women. You hear that all the time, right? You hear all of these other thoughts that seep in, and I think it has a lot to do with other people's perceptions on what's going on, but sometimes it can be reality in some cases, right? But I think that having that kind of fund would definitely like booster the confidence of Black women, because we deal with a lot just like Black men deal with a lot, but showing unity around us supporting our own.
Yes.
And standing up, because when a Black man come in the room and somebody if I'm a woman and somebody's coming at me and I roll up in there with 20 Black dudes that's like, we not gonna have that happen. You're not gonna talk to her like that. Things change fast, right? Like that's just what happens.
I agree. First and foremost, men, for us as Black men, we have to realize that in every other amongst every other group of people, realistically, we know this, and it's no slight to women, but in every other group of people, it is men who are protector, provider, right? They are the electorate generally, right? They're the individuals who keep the community safe. What it is for us is we know it's been structured in a way to take us out of the picture as Black men and leave Black women as vulnerable as possible, right? So when we talk about economics, especially when your woman or your wife and your children are vulnerable and your community is vulnerable to poverty, that breeds resentment for the individuals who are supposed to be responsible for eradicating the poverty, right? It's the men who are supposed to be at the forefront, ensuring that you are provided with those things. So in essence, even unionism, a lot of people don't really believe or know this, but skilled trade labor unions were actually created to destroy opportunities for Black men who were skilled trades. You did not find any white men shoeing horses. We were engineers, architects, carpenters, the electricians, the sheet metal workers. What the union did was the late trade labor unions did was institute racism on a level that you cannot believe. You have things such as the labor unions, project labor agreements, which state under federal law, the prevailing wage law even, that these individuals have to be a part of this institution and entity in order to participate in the variety of projects, such as the Barclays. A lot of people don't know this. Many years ago in Brooklyn, when the Barclays project was being done, I was against the project because we did not have a clear resolution or written agreement, contractual agreement, community bargaining agreement, business agreement, CBA, on who specifically would be hired. They did all this talking about Black people going to get these union jobs. Now, mind you, I came out of Local 79 commercial construction industry. I came out of commercial construction industry, mind you. You cannot get onto a union job without a union book. If you don't have a book, I don't care what your city council person told you. I don't care what the person at the community center told you. You're going to get a job. I don't care how many times you go to the local community center and sit there for meetings and sign a piece of paper talking about you're going to get some training. If you do not have a union book, you're not getting on a job. They made tens of thousands of people believe that they would get jobs and have entryway to the union and work on that project, and it did not materialize because our representation is deficient. I negotiate contracts for a living. Black people don't generally negotiate anything. We take the first offer and we go. You always negotiate. In America, our people don't negotiate. We take what we get and we move on. And that's the problem.
Well, I think I'm going to have you and Kenyetta on my negotiation team. When I get somebody that needs to negotiate with me, I'm sending them to you two. I'm going to back out. I'm going to say y'all need to go talk to LaQuan and Kenyetta. But maybe going back to the metaverse, maybe this is what our metaverse, multiverse, whatever, might look like. Us actually negotiating, us actually doing this whole building up our own people. I don't know.
Potentially, yes. I believe it could.
Can we build our own? All right. Can we build our own universe in the metaverse?
Well,
or can we only be a part of that that's already there?
Well, I'm going to, before you close out, because I know we've run out of time. It was a wonderful, I'm happy I made it for the time that I was on here. It gave me such a hard time when oh God, we'll talk about it offline. Here's mine.
We gotta do this again. We gotta do this again. We gotta put a pin to be continued, because this is great stuff.
Let me just give you my dream. Very quick. This is going to take no more than 60 seconds. I'm sorry. To all of the listeners, I'm sorry. We're going to have to trash Martin Luther King's dream. We're going to have to take. It was a great speech. Don't get me wrong. It was beautiful. It was riveting. His voice, very eloquent speaker. I mean, my God. But the content, holding hands with little white boys, really. This metaverse. We can take this time, even if we don't fully understand it, to start carving out a new dream and a new vision. And I'll give you my piece. 30 seconds Give us your piece. Tasemere's going to close us out. This is my piece of the dream. That we build companies, right? I'm talking about multi-billion-dollar companies across different industries. Diamonds, jewelry. I don't know if oil is going to exist. Maybe electric car companies, consumer goods companies, toiletries, clothes, you name it, food, right? We build all of this in the metaverse. We are able to hire our own. We are able to hire men who have, I think you're going to bring the skill set. We have men with skill sets. I want you to mention that in your dream. But we're going to build multi-million-dollar companies within this metaverse, and we can hire our own. That's my piece of the dream. And you guys give your piece of the dream, and then we'll close it out.
My piece of it is this. We got to take some baby steps, right? And I understand it because I've been through this with our people. So it is my first hope for people to jot down 10 things, right? Because if you choose to take the time to do this, that means there's some level of seriousness that there must be in your mind to take the time out of your day. Jot down 10 things that you realistically think that we could do within the metaverse that can put us in a position to begin to actually hire our own people, create industries or expand industries, right? For instance, we're talking about real estate, virtual real estate. Well, maybe we should put together the first virtual real estate fund, right? REIT, REIT, Real Estate Equity Investment Trust. Maybe that be the first thing that we do. Let's do it differently because this is a new world. So in the new world, we may have done things differently on the outside in this world, but in the new world, we can work collectively. We are brand new people in the metaverse. We don't have to have these old connotations and stigmas attached to us in the metaverse. In the metaverse, we operate as a collective. Maybe that's not true for the world out here, but in there, we could set a different tone and strike a different chord. So when we get to when we're operating in the metaverse, people take us much more seriously because we're operating different. Out here, people aren't taking us seriously, right? But in the metaverse, when we strike that chord, first impressions. So when we come, let's set the first impression. Let's come as an entity set on buying up or acquiring virtual land, businesses within other businesses within the metaverse, right? Because we talking about buying in, right? There's businesses already operating in the metaverse. So how come we're not looking for our equity stake? What they said?
Creating it, not looking, creating it.
We can create the equity stake.
This is all being created. This is not a look thing, like looking on planet Earth. This is all virtual. This is all being created as we go. They're building the plane, but while flying it.
Correct.
So there's no looking. It's all creating.
So that's my part of it. That let's get it down on paper, as Kenyetta always says. Let's get it down on paper, and that somewhere in the very near future, let's engage some attorneys and talk about what that looks like. Right? Will our business be taxed in the metaverse? Is there an inheritance tax? Right? How do we securitize or tokenize equity in a company within the metaverse? Nobody's discussed that yet because remember, cryptocurrency, for years, the government couldn't tax it. So while doing business in the metaverse, what are the regulations? Are we going to hire our own lobbyists to lobby for legislation that actually within the metaverse benefits us? Remember, the legislation out here is not helping us. So maybe there's legislation for the metaverse that will assist us in getting things done that we can't get done out here. So we got to start thinking outside the box. Let's get us a lobbyist within the metaverse. If that's the case, if we're going to do it, let's do it.
My mind is all over the place. I feel like my mind just went into the metaverse. I don't even know if I need glasses to get there or not, what the heck is happening or not. I just feel like y'all gave me a new perspective and I'm already in the metaverse. I think I'm gonna start operating like that on the outside. But on a serious note, I think that for me in the metaverse, I want our Black folks to really start thinking, because I don't want us to go into the metaverse waiting for someone to give us the permission to do something. And I think that that's something that we're constantly searching for validation and permission on this side of being able to do something. And I want us to be able to be innovative, be able to think your wildest thoughts, and find people that can help put different pieces to different puzzles to make certain things happen. I want to start with us really breaking it down and thinking and sometimes challenging people when we don't understand something, because they need to have us to understand it, right? So I don't know. I'm feeling like our world that we just created here. I mean, is there citizenship? I got questions. I want a passport to my metaverse.
I think that we should have. I don't think rap should be allowed into the Black metaverse. I think that the brothers need to be taxed if they're coming in with the pants sagging and the booty holes out, and you know what I'm saying. You got to come up with some rules now.
I agree.
If you can only have one woman, if you create another one, if you got more than one woman, you got to create another avatar. You can't have more than one baby mama. We need some constraints. You know, we need to put up some rules.
We need
putting up some rules. This is a whole new.
We're gonna have.
Yeah, we need
etiquette. Have to have some rules in our metaverse.
Standards.
We're gonna need some rules.
Etiquette and standards.
I think so. I think that this is going to be interesting to see how people's behavior in the metaverse transitions to their behavior outside, right? Because if I go into this metaverse I'm saying I'm still calling it Wakanda until I get a new name, because that's all I could think
until
of.
They cease and desist, right?
I know, until the people come for me, but they didn't come for me yet. So I'ma just rock with it. So if I'm in Wakanda, and in Wakanda, I carry myself with pride and confidence, and I feel like I'm very passionate and determined. I wonder if those characteristics might transition into how I also carry myself in this reality, right? Because it might do a whole switch for some people, right? You might have different thoughts. You might want to read more. You might want to learn more. You might want to try new things that you haven't tried before, and how that might start reflecting what we really want to happen, right? Because now we're like, we don't have any boundaries. We don't have any confines in the metaverse. What are these confines and who created them in reality? And I'm not going to accept those notions anymore, because I think that we accept, as a group, we accept notions that have no substance. There's no reason for us to even accept some of the things that we do, but we just think that that's just the way it is. I hear a lot of people saying that's just the way it is, and that's just what we got to deal with, right? But what if we get past that roadblock? I don't know. I'm excited to see, though. I'm excited to see if I could be like, I don't want to be no millionaire in the metaverse. I want to be like a gazillion trillionaire. I'm making up my own money status. I want to be a trillionaire.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it will definitely help us crack some codes that we've been unable to crack. And this 2-dimensional, that they're calling this 2D now. This is 2D.
Right.
This 2D. Is 3D, and the metaverse is 4D. Is that what it is?
Right.
I have no idea. We need to talk about broadband. How much internet service do you need to actually get into the metaverse? I don't know. I just want to make sure my plane drives to Wakanda. When I need to get in my little glasses, I just go straight to Wakanda. I won't go nowhere else.
I'll let you use that name until I give you a better one.
Tasemere just brought up something specific. Broadband. People need to, when they get a chance, go and look up what spectrum is. Major companies buy spectrum. Whoever's in control of spectrum will be in control of how you interact and engage and how fast your capacity is in the metaverse or on the internet.
How about this? How about your zip code is going to determine that?
A lot. Yeah, we have to have these conversations, because it's the same thing for back in the day with the large cable operators, and who had the resources to hook up all this cable throughout the streets and cities of urban environments, whereas we didn't have that capacity, we didn't have the finances to do that. They are in control of all this now. All they did was transition to this new world of Wi-Fi, spectrum, right, broadband, and things of that nature. We have no footprint whatsoever within that, and it's the most important thing in the world right now to people besides food, water, and shelter. It's like fourth. Internet, Wi-Fi, that's like the fifth thing on the list. That you can't do it if you're working remotely from home. If we're on these platforms like this, we can't even do that unless we have that. So that's even a conversation, because when those people are in control of that, and they can realistically say they can price us out at some point. This may be this just having this conversation online can become very expensive. I remember paying $54.32 for internet. I now pay $104.33.
Dang, for internet?
Every February, my bill goes up. And people are going to start realizing that since we don't have control, we don't control the pricing as well, that we're going to have a problem. You're not going to be able to afford it. I give it a few more years, but internet's going to cost you a significant penny just to have it. Just to have it. And as the devices change also and require more, of access to Wi-Fi and things of that nature, that changes too. So it goes hand in hand. So maybe those conversations need to be had as well, because we don't have any kind of footprint within that realm at all. Zero participation.
Woo. We got work. I think the three of us need to go back and rewatch this and take notes, because I think over the course of this time that we've been talking, I think that we have identified a dozen different things that we need to do, like a to-do list. And if we really are going to start thinking about how all of these new trends are going to continue to impact Black economics, I think that we have to build a coalition of sorts across the world. I don't think that we need to stay in the US. Black people are all over the place. I think we need to try to get like-minded people somewhere. I don't know what platform we're going to do it on, but I think that we need to really start thinking about the things that we ask for and be objective about it. Because I think we ask for things that we need today, and we just fleshed out internet and access to reliable internet. If we're really going to have this metaverse, we need to start having a lot of serious conversations about it. To get the digital divide we're not going to be able to afford it. So then the metaverse might not even be something that we can even participate in. That's if right. We grow too large, if we're going to do some of the things that we fantasized about here, like buying real estate, having better confidence of Black folks, us working together. If we create that, they might decide you need $100,000 to even get into the metaverse because of all these new phones, or maybe our laptops that we have aren't going to get us there. So maybe we need better laptops. I have no clue, but we need to start thinking about who's going to advocate for us to be able to take part in this new technology.
Correct. I agree.
I don't know.
We've started it already. We are advocates already. This conversation is the conversation that most other people
we are the first
community don't have. We're the first advocates.
Right. We are the first. We are the advocates.
The viewers and listeners right now also are participating in advocacy right now just by watching and listening. And that's the first. It's always only a handful in anything. It's always only a handful.
We're the pioneers.
Correct.
I've been using.
We're pioneering something. Us millennials are pioneering. We finally have pioneered something because we have been, following direction. I feel like I am tapping into my inner Gen Z. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to be one of these Gen Z people. I feel like I have tapped into that. I'm super excited about it. We got to come back again and finish talking about it, Quan. I'm about to loop you in on air, just like I did with Kenyetta. Like, we got to have a Saturday that we just talk about something, the three of us, because I think that our voices are the voices that are missing. When I hear older people talking about, well, where are the people that want to participate in this and participate in that? I think that we are overshadowed by the foolishness that is happening, and most people just group us all into the foolishness that's going on. But I think that we have shown that there are middle-aged people, right? That are
We're middle-aged.
I'm calling us middle-aged. I'm calling us middle-aged because
I rebuke that. This is the Ankh sign. This is the Ankh.
Look, I'm calling us middle-aged because I feel like our thoughts and what we have articulated are beyond our birth years. That's on our birth certificate.
Don't try and clean it up. No, I
do. Seriously, because when I
try to clean it up, you try to hit me with you see the brother man and the other man.
No, but I totally feel that way because when I think about how many 30-year-olds, 30 to 40-year-olds, you can have this conversation with, is very few. It's very limited, right? Because we run away from like being courageous in our thoughts because we don't want to step on any toes. We're like, oh no, we can't do this because I worked so hard to get this degree. I don't want to say this thing because if I say something, the status that I have might be taken away from me, right? So that's what I'm saying. I think that we are a group of people that aren't confined by these labels that we have grown attached to. And I just feel that people in their 30s to 40s have grown attached with these labels of saying, like, I have a master's degree, I have a PhD, I make X amount, I live here, I do that I can't have anything interfere with that. So I'm going to just walk this fine line right here and do what the people tell me to do. And that's all I'm going to do.
Listen, you're in luck, Tasemere, because what did Charlie Murphy say? I'm a habitual line crosser. I habitually cross lines.
That's right.
I'm an habitual line stepper. So you're in good company.
I think this was great. I'm going to challenge our viewers to also go back, rewatch, pause, rewind, take some notes, because we done talked about a couple different topics in this now 1 hour, almost 15-minute segment that I think we can continue to flesh out. But this has been Tasemere, your host of the Blackout Live from New York, with my commutator Kenyetta S. Kenyetta Scott Rose. I'm about to give you a whole new name, Kenyetta. Kenyetta S. Rose, and our special guest, who is now going to be a commentator because I just volunteered him that, and he's going to accept it. I'm putting that out in the universe. LaQuan Word, and we were talking about a couple different topics today. We talked about the metaverse was our overarching concept, but we also talked about the prison system. We talked about investment. We talked about power. We talked about building up Black women. Buying in. What else did we talk about today?
So we can get them brothers some books and get them pants pulled up.
Kenyetta is making rules for the metaverse already, taxing people. We talked about lobbying. We talked about unionism. We talked about a whole bunch of different topics. Definitely tune into us next week, Saturday, same time, 10:15 Eastern Standard. See you then. Ciao.